When I first heard about this lockdown, I tell you, I was fuming. I was angry. It didn't sound right from the beginning. It didn't seem right from the beginning. I knew something was wrong with it. Proving it, a very difficult matter indeed. Now, the reason I was angry, to be fair, was a personal reason. This was going to stop me doing certain things. But whilst my life is trivial compared to other people's, I understand that, and the pain and suffering that other people are going through are far, far greater than any pain that I will ever go through. But it still stank. And bit by bit, I started to put things together to show that the lockdown has a price, and the price is high. Not just economic price, but the price in pain and suffering that will continue for a long time after the lockdown and the social distancing ends. But everything I had to say just fell on deaf ears. The first confirmation I got that the pain I was going through was nothing, was trivial compared to other people, was when Esther Ranson came onto the news and said that calls to Childline had tripled. Then we had Ruby Wax. She was saying that there's going to be a tsunami of mental health problems. But the problem is we don't see a lot of the pain. When there's a flood, the camera crews are there. They're showing people up to their waist in water in their homes. Where were they? Where are they now? Why aren't they going around seeing people that are waiting for hip operations, waiting to have their knees done, in pain? I met a lady up the road. She can't even get to her toilet. She's in so much pain. And that pain is only going to get worse. Operations have been cancelled for 3 months. 700,000 every month been cancelled. And because of the way we're dealing with the virus, the rate at which that backlog is going to be cleared is going to be very, very hard indeed. The pain is real. It's inside people's homes, and most people are oblivious to it. And the one gentleman that really irritated me, he was on a push bike. And when I was protesting, he was saying, is there any need for that? That seems to me unnecessary. He's on a bike. Other people are struggling in their homes with no hope, with no date set for when the hospitals can treat them. That's when I made the angry video. The economy and safety are linked. You need money, a good economy, to ensure safety procedures and safety mechanisms are put in place. You may have a level crossing. It might cost £1 million to upgrade the level crossing. Well, if the economy is down the pan, that £1 million doesn't get spent, so 1 or 2 children every year lose their lives on the railway tracks. But spread across the country, that could be quite a few people. The same with roads. We can improve the roads to reduce the accidents and reduce the deaths. But again, that costs money. Look at the Grenfell Tower. To save money, they put cheaper cladding on. How many things today and in the future are we going to make cutbacks on, which is going to end in more deaths? This lockdown is pushing the economy down, and it'll mean that there'll be less money for safety, and a few people here and there will start dying. Could be you, could be one of your family members. If you support the lockdown, you have to accept that the safety will be compromised now and in the future. Graham Medley brought out the first bit of information that made a lot of sense, and a piece of information that nobody cares one iota about. He said that if the economy drops by 6%, then the average life expectancy falls by 3 months. Now, our economy is set to drop by 13%, so does that mean it's going to drop by 6 months or 12 months? We don't know, because the effects could be amplified. It kind of seems to me that to extend the life, don't forget most people that are dying are old, to extend the life of a few, the entire country is going to have their lives shortened by about the same amount. Something must be amiss with that. The economy and the NHS has enabled life expectancy to go up. Since the 1970s, life expectancy has increased by 10 years. How much of our life expectancy is going to be reduced by this lockdown? How many children have died during the outbreak? 615, 615. But how many actually died because of the virus? 10. But how safe are you at home? People say stay at home, stay safe. 6,000 people die every year in their home. 3,600 die on the roads. I don't know, I can't even remember how many died from food poisoning and all the other kind of dangers that we have out there. Now I can understand people thinking, oh, I don't want to send my kids to school because it's going to be dangerous. But how safe are you from the virus in your own home? You know, I had a guy on the TikTok, he said, I go out my house once a week. I go to the local store, I have a mask, I have my gloves, and I've caught a really bad cold. So, you, the parents, you could bring the virus home. Anybody, it could still get in your home. You still may catch it. You're still highly likely to catch this virus, even when you're tucked up indoors. That is a reality we have to come to realise. When the guy from the Home Office said that 80% of people are going to get it, he may well be right. You may not shield your children, even if you keep them at home. So how many are actually going to die from the virus? Now I said 10 children have died so far, and it could be 20 times that based on if we extrapolate the data. Don't quote me on that, that's just a figure. Could be 200, could be any number, but that's the kind of a rough idea. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. I've got a lot of flack from this. Now, the 600,000, that's the number of people that normally die every year, and the estimation is that 1% will die from the virus, but you can only die once. So half the people would have died in this period anyway. So that gives us a figure of about 300,000. That's a fairly good number. Okay, Boris Johnson has quoted 500,000. That would make that 600. I think it's slightly higher than 500,000. Then we have lockdown deaths. I'm on a bit dodgy ground on this. I use the data based on week 16 and 17, and that was showing a baseline figure of 3,000 people dying more than expected. The COVID wasn't mentioned on their death certificate. But again, if you go back to the thing where they overlap, it could be 400,000. But then in week 18, the number has dropped. It dropped down to 2,000. And we'll see next Tuesday what the figures bring then. We don't know if it's just something that has followed the line of the peak of the virus. We don't know if people are now going into hospital and not being scared of going to hospital now because they didn't want to catch the virus, and now they're getting treated. But even to this day, there are lots of people, quite a lot of people that we would expect to see in the hospitals, but we're not. Things like stroke, they're not coming in. So we don't know. So this is a lot of those knowns, unknowns, all that thing. We don't know. What we do know is that locking people up for 18 months, they're not sleeping, anxiety, no idea, no hope when it's all going to end, cannot be good for their health. So this figure is, I'm afraid to say, a bit of a guess. But I didn't expect to get the kind of attention that it did. But that figure could actually be correct, and it could actually be quite low. What the effect is going to be on all these people, we're talking about millions of people locked up for a long time. What the effect is going to be on them, we're not sure. But that is a small number compared to the number that are being locked up with no hope. And now to people that keep saying to me, Sweden is a different country. Yes, I know it's a different country. I'm fully aware that it's a different country. And yes, their rates are shooting up. Of course they're going to be shooting up. We knew that was going to happen. We knew that the rates were going to go through the roof and then tail off and then nothing. Their pandemic in a few months is over. We, on the other hand, will be killing, letting these people die very slowly. We're just stretching our pandemic out as long as we possibly can. I'm assuming that if the virus doesn't go away, that we will have exactly the same number, the same proportion as Sweden. The only difference is they will have pandemic end day. We won't. Our pandemic will just go on and on and on and on. Today we had the sad news of the first person reported in the media who's died of cancer because of a failed diagnosis. We know that where there's something like 18,000 of those in the pipeline, that is going to form part of this figure and more. We don't know. So how do we get out of this mess? The first thing we have to do is accept that this lockdown has been not only a waste of time, but it's been counterproductive. People will not accept that. People will not think, oh, you mean we've been locked up for all these weeks for nothing? Not only is it for nothing, but it's actually been worse than not locking down. We've actually done more destruction. We've made the situation worse. That is a very unpalatable truth. And that truth relies upon you believing that the virus is going to do its evil forever and a day. So how do we get out of it? To get out of it, we have to choose the awful instead of the very awful. And that, again, is something that people are much more prepared to just leave and wait till it happens. We are like on the ship, on the Titanic, playing around with our violins, pretending that the ship is not going to go down. Let's see what happens. We know what happens. The ship sinks. The country is sinking. We can either do this in a controlled way, or we just wait and see what happens and bury our heads in the sand. It's down to you, the public. It's not just the government. The government is following the public. You have to decide, have you got belief that Boris Johnson's plan is going to work? Remember, it's all if. If it works. If it doesn't work, we are in big trouble. If we get a second wave at Christmas, we are in big trouble. Believe me. People never thought we could have a mega tsunami until one came and 200,000 people died in one day. Big events can happen. So is it even worth me telling you a plan to get out of it? Nobody's going to listen, nobody's going to pay any attention to it, the government's certainly not going to do it, it's completely unpalatable. We need something like 3 million people to recover from the virus every week. That means 80% of the population is going to be ill. Some of them are going to be, what virus? Some of them are going to be 1 week feeling rough. And for a lot of people, it's going to be 3 weeks feeling really bad. And of course, 1% will, pretty much sure, 1% will not make it through. That is unpalatable to people. They would much rather just see what happens and just fingers crossed. Hope, hope, hope. A vaccine's 12 months away. It takes 12 more months to make enough doses. Can we wait? Could we go from pandemic to pandemonium? Because I'm telling you, the plan that I've been suggesting and other people have been suggesting is going to cause pandemonium. We're talking about huge numbers of people being ill all at the same time. Even if we do it in a controlled fashion, it's going to be pandemonium. We're going to need to ramp up the Nightingales 20-fold. We're going to have oxygen supplies like we've never seen before. And people have to stay at home. They're going to have to live, breathe and survive the virus at home, the vast majority. Only the really ill ones will go to hospital. It's going to need concerted effort from everybody. It's a major, major, major undertaking. I realise that. But would it be better if we did it now and did it in a controlled fashion and did it giving people hope that at least once this is over, it's over? At home, you say, I'm going to stay at home. Well, I'll tell you something, you go to hospital. Hospital is no fun. No fun, but the food is awful. The food is terrible. You won't have your family with you. There are thousands of people in hospital with no family. They don't see them. They don't see anybody. The nurses haven't got time for them. They're dying in hospital alone. It's tragic. I spoke to a doctor. She said, it's shit. It's shit seeing all these people dying alone in hospital. At home, there are some benefits. You can have nice food, you can watch your telly, and you can get some peace at night and sleep, proper sleep. No noise, beeping machines and people walking around. It's not quite as bad as we think. But, again, as I say to you, it is unpalatable for the majority. But it can just about be done. And remember, we won't need PPE. The PPE levels that we need would go down. It kind of makes sense if you analyse it. It's logical, but it's also completely crazy. If 600,000 people die every year, that means that this last year of their life is not exactly going to be a great one. I don't want to end this video on sour and negativity. I want to give us hope, give us a chance to have a barbecue in the garden, go to the pub, go to ice skating, enjoy yourself, go and see your friends, go and see your families, live again. We can live again. We can do it. Sweden is showing the way. Brazil's had come under a huge amount of criticism, but they will live. So will Belarus. Pakistan's, forget it, they've thrown in the towel. One man in Korea, you know, there's Koreans, they know how to do all this contact tracing. One man had to trace 10,000 people, and most of them, they put in false names. We think we can have an app. It's not going to work. Can you imagine this app? And you're told you've got to isolate for 14 days. So you go home, you don't get ill, you go out again, and then boff, you're told again, 14 days. Oh my God, you just delete the app. It's not going to work. We have belief in technology, it doesn't work. The only way to do it is by manual tracing, but there's too many people out there with the virus for that to work. It's a joke. We have to accept that this virus is not going to go away. Instead, we could have a lovely future. We could get our kids back into school. We can give them a chance. You can start living again, not just going to work and coming home, going to work, coming home. You actually go out and enjoy yourself again. How many boyfriends, girlfriends, they can't meet? How many babies are not going to be made? This is ridiculous. This could go on and on and on, as I said. Instead, we could have a bright future. We could say, no, boff, let's do it. Maybe. I have optimism. Eventually, we'll see sense. But my fear is we'll come to our senses way too late. And it won't be barbecues. It'll be something much worse. But eventually, when the dust settles, it'll be fine. Don't worry too much. The chances of you recovering from this virus is enormous. If you're young, you could succumb, but honestly, much more likely that you'll recover and you'll have a good life.